Good afternoon, all. We are pleased to have you all join us for the SBV Connect webinar series. Today's topic is on breastfeeding and its implications for well-being for the child and for humanity. And we again welcome you all for joining this session. This is the most need of the hour session, and we are honored to have the dignitaries, Professor Rakesh K. Mudgal, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor D.Y. Patil Educational Society, Kolhapur, Maharashtra, our Professor Dr. Subhash Chandra Parija, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sri Balaji Vidyapith, Pondicherry, and Dr. Professor B. Vengamma, ma'am, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sri Venkateshwara Institute of Medical Sciences, Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh. And I'm Dr. Karthikeyan, Professor Pediatrics of Mahatma Gandhi Medical College University and Sri Balaji Vidyapith, and I'll be serving as the moderator for today's session. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes. Today's session will be recorded and it's available post-conference also. And if you have any questions to the speakers, please post it in the chat box. And paying due respect to the speakers, all the other participants will be muted. You can also submit your question in the chat box. Now, let's please welcome our first presenter, Dr. Rakesh Kumar Mudgal, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, D.Y. Patil Education Society, an institution deemed to be university, Kolhapur, Maharashtra. Sir has received specialized training in productivity management and has also undergone faculty training at IIM Bangalore. His teaching and coaching abilities, coupled with passion-led style of leadership, has allowed him to build institutions with huge scale. Earlier, he was Vice Chancellor of Tirthankar Mahavir University, Moradabad, has extensively cited 37 indexed national and international publications. He has guided more than 15 PhD students. His commitment towards higher education systems have won him various accolades: Gem of YMCAIE, Visionary Award Leader of Hindustan Unilever, 100 Most Influential Vice Chancellor at World Education Congress 2016, and Best Vice Chancellor Award at Pechan 8 Rajiv Gandhi Excellence Award. An avid reader, he inspires mutual respect and trust amongst his team with inclusive, transparent, and participatory administrative style of working. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Karthikeyan, for launching me, and let me extend my greetings to my fellow panelists, led by Professor Subhash Parija, who is a idealistic mentor for me, Dr. Vengamma, and other fellow learners, because we will be talking about something so important for our survival and thriving on this Mother Earth. Something, whatever comes to us, either comes from Mother or Mother Earth. 99.9% things we are dependent on these two great entities as such. Just supplementing and complementing, but these are the sources through which everything on this earth makes us survive. And let's understand what Dr. Karthikeyan just started. Yes, it is something so important for all of us. I'll just start sharing, and quickly within 10-15 minutes, I'll try to do justice to the time allotted to me. Right. Hope the slide is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's visible, and hope it will be moving also. It's moving?
Moving, sir.
Good. I'll be talking about the total aspect of the comprehensive development of the child, the mother, and the society, of course, because the strongest unit of society is the family, and the strongest pillar in the family is the mother. Right. That is what my understanding and perception about everything about the health and well-being of people on this Mother Earth. Let's understand what is the term development, because most of the time people take growth and development as synonym to each other, which it is not. The simple equation is development is equal to growth plus change. Whatever change we are looking at, if it is coupled with the the growth in those dimensions, then we will be basically terming this as a development, else it is only a partial growth. If we are looking for development, then change should be that people should be healthy. The number of days in hospitalization should be reduced to 0. Basically that's the target, but that it's not feasible, but it has to be reduced to the least possible. right? Number of accidents should go up. Will that be an indicator of growth, development? Answer would be simply no. It may be a growth into automobile, but if it is leading to more pollution, more congestion on the roads, and consuming more of our time, hence it requires relook into the entire gamut of. When it comes to an individual, these are the four essential things. They have to be anchored: the physical aspect, the mental aspect, emotional and spiritual aspect. If we are able to really focus on this, we are basically focusing on the development part, not only the growth part as such. Just to give an overview about what basically constitute the developmental aspect. These are the four essential dimensions. Each one of us is looking to grow and develop so that we are able to contribute and we are able to serve the cause for which God has sent us on this Mother Earth through our mother only. Right. Now let's understand, because we are all medicos here and we understand what are the challenges, what is the relevance of breastfeeding, and why it is becoming so important in today's world. Because it is known to all of us, this is the most natural and the healthiest way of feeding baby. That's something. There's absolutely no parallel, no comparable thing, no similar thing. Right? There could be substitute which are not serving the full cause for which they are being adopted. Right? Breastfeeding definitely improves the health of the not only the child, even the mother also. These are the scientific things which everybody have acknowledged and is thinking to align, yes, that how to reap the benefit of this great thing. It provides all nutrients needed by the child at the start of the life, and it is really a foundation. And believe me, when the foundation is good, we can create castles onto it. But if the foundation weak, it is very, very difficult to really make something meaningful out of it. And hence, breastfeeding is really a short recipe for creating a good foundation of a baby, right? Then it acts as a vaccine. We all know it prevents from all disease, and people make claim that Complan, Boost, and whatnot, but there is absolutely no substitute of breast milk. That's absolutely in terms of nutrient, antibodies, or attachment and bonding and a stimulation also, right? And it ensures the complete bonding with the newborn, and definitely it has got a great role in promoting cognitive development and ultimately leading to reduction in the healthcare costs and ultimately contributing into the healthier society. This is how it is makes to understand the need of breastfeeding and how it is going to be relevant in times to come as well as the present situation, right? The direct benefits, of course, goes to the child. There's absolutely no denial, and all the participants will definitely support me onto this. It saves the child, it protects the child, it creates very, very congenial and developmental oriental ecosystem within the child, and leading to all avoidance of something which is not wanted, means it is avoiding the illness as such, which otherwise could have been. And of course, it helps in preventing obesity, overweight, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and maybe most of the things. Well, there's absolutely no second thought into it. The most important thing which I thought of sharing is, like, child does not, is not interested and would not be consuming something much more than what is needed. Like animals, they will, or the birds, they will go to different places and the flowers, and they will only pick up what is essentially needed in terms of the quantity and the temperature as such. Same way, this particular process of breastfeeding basically ensures the child is getting the right quantity at the right temperature, so that he is not over consuming, he is not under consuming, and ultimately is able to really take whatever is essentially needed to survive and thrive both, right? And if we are feeding externally, we are feeding something much more than the requirement, or at times maybe lesser than the requirement, because there's no mechanism in a child's system when we are feeding externally at that particular tender age to really gauge what is essentially needed and what temperature it should go. That is why breastfeeding makes it a short recipe that, yes, quantity and temperature both. Because if the temperature gradient is very high, the system has to work very, very hard, and it is unnecessary putting pressure onto the system, right? And of course, it prevents the sudden death syndrome also. Like the mother, of course, it helps in the speedy recovery of the mother after the child's birth. Then it protects the mother as well. Not only child, mother also into protects from these all, and especially the ovarian cancer, the heart disease, and diabetic and other things, and depressions. Right. This is I'm just sharing from a study conducted by Chaudhary and others, and it was widely cited in this particular area, right? And then, of course, this is something which is a natural contraceptive, I would say, that it is basically helps in keeping the birth spacing as well, right? Now, how it is going to help the environment and the society also, because that is what the basic topic talks about. That, of course, it is available. It is available with everybody. The mother's milk is available to each one of us. It is available at each, and it offers lot many advantages in terms of the nutrition, as we were talking about with reference to previous slides. And basically, this does not affect the system adversely. Neither it pollutes the system, and it leads to lesser stress on the economic aspect, because one is not required to buy all those formulas available in the market, which is more of a gimmick other than is prescribed by the treating physician, maybe based on the medical condition. If it is something you need, is fine. But otherwise, it does not really make sense to buy all those unnecessary things which are costly also, and does not really, they do less of the benefit, more of the harm, right? We are able to save that. And of course, since it is a natural, it is sustainable, it is renewable, it is not creating any type of waste or pollution as such. But manufacturing anything which is not naturally made, anything man-made, is definitely having some consequential effect on the environment also, and it leads to generation of waste. And any relationship of waste has got a bearing on the productivity also, because productivity is inversely proportional to wastivity. If we are wasting more, we are basically reducing the productivity as such, right? Then, of course, organizations also get benefited, because the organizations have to come forward, especially the working mothers, which are engaged into creating wealth in commercial or social organization as such. That it is encouraging and creating an ecosystem or respecting the breastfeeding process. They gain much more than they can realize or they can feel about it. Hence, we need to have a system which basically supports them. It will definitely help in projecting that an organization is women friendly or mother friendly or developmental friendly, and definitely it will lead to better health of the organization as well. Then it is going to help them to get more man hours available, because if we are able to support the mother and child, definitely the child and mother will be requiring lesser number of sick leaves, and they will be more available to work and contribute, right? Then this is a part of a study. If we are able to really encourage this and create a system, we are able to reduce the absenteeism to the tune of 30 to 70% into the workplaces. It will help in retention of the female employees in the organization, because they feel that yes, organization is taking care of us. Definitely it becomes imperative on our part to reciprocate. Then turnover rate and turnover cost both will definitely go down, and longevity of people and more contribution will definitely automatically flow in. This is something, the background. Now the challenge is, as per this particular study, there's a current study, and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare also basically is concerned about. They're saying that only 44% of the children, they get the breastfeeding within the first hour of their birth, and that's something so alarming. And another study basically talks about that about 8 lakh people or the newborn under the age of 5, they are lost every year, and out of that 87% are of the under age of 6 months. If we are able to ensure and scale up our breastfeeding, we are able to save these lives, and something around 20,000 cases of breast cancer can be prevented annually if we are able to really create a system by which we are able to ensure that yes, whosoever deserve breastfeeding is basically provided that. Then these are some of the recommendations which most of us are aware of. Just for the sake of repetition and revision, I'm just putting it across that it is recommended by WHO as well as UNICEF that yes, newly born until the age of 6 months must be only fed with the breast milk, nothing else. Then basically the second recommendation is that the child should be breastfed on demand as often as the child want, whether it is day, night, whatever time. No bottles, no teats and other things should be used. And beyond 6 months, of course, it could be a combination of external complementary foods, but it is recommended that it should be at least continued in a combination, not exclusively, but combination until 2 years of the age. And if something beyond can also be done, that's something good for individual, mother, and the society as such. Then what is needed? Why this 44% only, and why we have got a potential of losing 8 lakh plus children every year and 20,000 cases of cancer because of lesser awareness, lesser adoption, or lesser publicity, or lesser adherence to all this practice of breastfeeding. Then what is needed? Basically, the support system is needed. That will basically help people to really come forward and really work in that particular direction consciously. Then it means there has to be proper timing for it. There has to be resources and services are needed, right? Then can we think of mandatory provision for paid maternity, paternity, and paternal leave? That's something very, very important. But I thought these are the 5 very, very simple, which does not really cost much. We need to really advocate creating an enabling environment for breastfeeding, and so that it becomes a culture. It is a part of the culture with us. We need to, because most of the time the training is not provided. People think the other way, they are poorly trained, they are ill trained into this particular technique or this particular essential way of life. They need to be trained. And on top of that, it's not the mother only. The people who are managing the affairs in the offices and administrative position, they should be also trained on to the benefit of breastfeeding. Then provision of workplace breastfeeding rooms, reduced working hours, and paid nursing breaks. That's something very, very simple with a very less cost. It will add to the productivity on the work front. Then as clinicians, or there's clinical practices, these are some of the things we can think of doing it, that we need to discuss the importance and management of breastfeeding with the pregnant women and their families. That's very, very important, because they have to be brought on the board. Then we need to facilitate immediate and uninterrupted skin-to-skin contact and support mothers to initiate breastfeeding as soon as possible after birth. That the system has to, as a part of the clinical practice, we have to ensure how to blend this particular activity, which is very, very essential and very, very meaningful. Support mothers to initiate and maintain breastfeeding and manage common difficulties. That's something very, very important, because there are going to be difficulties, there's no doubt about it, but there has to be a solution for it. There has to be support for it. Don't provide breastfeed newborn any food or fluid other than the breast milk unless medically indicated. Of course, there could be some conditions where medically it is something additional is needed. Then, of course, we can do it. But if everything is normal, there's absolutely, we have to avoid it. Then enable mothers and their infant to remain together and to practice rooming in 24 hours a day. It's not that they need to be separated. No. Support mothers to recognize and respond to their infant cues and for feeding. That's very, very important, because at times mothers may not be able to understand what this particular child is basically indicating, whether it is a feeding requirement or something else. Of course, they have to be told not to use this feeding bottle and all, because there are ill effects. Because breastfeeding leads to a lot of exercise of expansion of our lungs, and lungs oxygen carry capacity goes up, and definitely that has got a direct bearing on our health also. The coordinated discharge, when we are discharging, the people have to be explained what are the essential things needed. Then something from the management perspective, comply fully with this complete code available, international code for marketing of breast milk substitute, because people will advertise. Advertising is something at times is misleading also, just to trap people into it. But we need to really adhere to these codes. Have a written infant feeding policy that is routinely communicated to staff and parents. That's something on a management front we can do as clinicians or administration in healthcare. Establish ongoing monitoring and data management system that is essentially needed. Ensure that staff have sufficient knowledge, competence, and skill to support breastfeeding. The provision for training on all these three essential things, prenatal, perinatal, and postnatal also, and these are something they have to be always trained onto it. And then top of that, if we are not able to really fully implement and convince people for essentiality of breastfeeding, we have to make what you call availability of midwifery and nurses who can really support this particular cause. Because there will be challenges, there will be what you call discomfort, there will be disinterest also, but they have to be supported by people who are expert and keep on telling the importance of this. Right. The society and community support is equally important. It's not only the professional will be responsible, or they can only solve this particular problem, or they can train people onto this. They can lead this particular movement and support this cause. We need to have the support from the society and family also. That is important. We have to generate awareness. That awareness has to be converted to acceptance of this very, very essential activity to keep the child in healthy condition, thus, and keeping the mother as well as the community in healthy condition. Right. And the promoting the role of a partner in supporting this breastfeeding is very, very important, because unless there's a support within the family, within the house, it is very difficult to really take this particular activity to its desired level. We have to basically, people have to come forward to share that responsibility. We have to sensitize the peers and advocate the women right to breastfeeding in public places. That is how it is. Establishing and maintaining community network that protect, promote, and support the breastfeeding, because the community has to be brought on board. Then breastfeeding must be adopted and integrated as a lifestyle choice. People should not think that it is going to be something negative on my health. It is scientifically proved, it is socially been adhered to it, that it basically helps in every aspect of our life. It does not damage in any fashion that way. Right. This is something I thought it could be of some relevance here, deviating from the medical practices. There are 17 sustainable goals UN has been advocating, and our country have been chasing, some of them half-heartedly, some of the in a full throttle. And this is how this breastfeeding is basically, out of 17, is supporting directly the 8th one. Of course, it is going to help in elevating the poverty. Once the mother milk is available, there's going to be zero hunger. Definitely, the best contribution of breastfeeding is good health and well-being. Then when we are good, definitely we'll be able to spread good quality education. It is going to help in maintaining the 5th Sustainable Development Goal, the gender equality, then decent work and economic growth. It reduces inequality, and it is basically adopting that sustainable model of consumption, which is responsible consumption and production that way. So this is how this small act can make big difference in life of individuals, mothers, community, nations, cultures, and continents. That is how this small act, which appears to be a very small act, but taking this particular act as a part of a religious responsibility and conscious efforts, I think we will be able to address most of the Sustainable Development Goal also. So with this, I'm just ending, because in a stipulated time, this is what I thought I'll be able to do some justice to this. Thank you so much. In case you have something, sorry, just
Thank you so much, sir. That
this
was an
is
excellent
all.
presentation.
Just these are some of the things. In case conclusion, I just want to conclude that nutrition well-being of a nation is both an outcome and indicator of national development. There's no denial. Breastfeeding is among the most effective way to protect maternal and child health and promote healthy growth and optimal development in early childhood. Empowering and enabling women to breastfeed should be at this heart of every plan, policy, procedure, and practice at all levels, to keep every child alive and to build a healthy, smart, and productive society. And when women are informed, empowered, and supported to breastfeed, the benefit extend to their families, the children, and the society as a whole. And this is a very, very powerful statement by UN. Breastfeeding is the smartest investment families, communities, and countries can make. This is a statement which makes big sense out of a small line. Yes, it is the smartest investment. When we invest something, definitely our returns are much more than what we have invested. When we use them, we get whatever we spend, we get the same. And when we are losing them, definitely we invest more and we get lesser benefit. But UN says that it is the smartest investment the families, community, and society countries can make. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was an excellent presentation, and you went through the basic understanding of development and the importance of breastfeeding on child nutrition and development. And chat box with a question, sir. Okay, so if there are any questions, we can connect it to the speaker. And okay, so if there are no questions, we'll move on to the next speaker, our next dignitary. Professor Subhash Chandra Parija, sir, is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Sri Balaji Vidyapith University, Puducherry. He is an eminent academician, erudite microbiologist, researcher, keen votary of medical education, and able administrator. He was a former director of JIPMER Pondicherry, the author of 16 books and 400 plus research papers in national and international journals. He has been listed among top 2% of scientists globally in the field of tropical medicine. He is an FAO WHO expert member on foodborne parasitic diseases. He has received the prestigious Dr. B.C. Raj National Award in the year 2003 for his nodal contributions to the development of medical microbiology. He is the founder of Indian Academy of Tropical Parasitology, and he has been conferred with various fellowships that include FAMS, FICAI, FABM, FIMCA, FIMSA, etc. Sir will be enlightening us on breastfeeding is an investment in health, not just a lifestyle decision. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My esteemed friends in this webinar. It's my pleasure to immense on my behalf and behalf of entire family of Sri Balaji Vidyapith and our respected Chancellor, Sri M.K. Rajgopalan, to this ongoing program on the webinar series. We are really thrilled that every month we have webinars of interesting topics that gives us the opportunities to have views and thoughts of eminent experts, administrative heads, and thought providers in the fields. So this also today we are having an interesting program on breastfeeding and its implication for well-being of the child and humanity. And at the outset, I must put on record my sincere thanks to my good friend, Professor Rakesh Mudgal, Vice Chancellor, D.Y. Patil Educational Society, Kolhapur, and respected academicians and clinicians of eminence, Professor B. Vengama, Vice Chancellor of Sri Venkateswara Institute of Medical Science, Tirupati. And I also see in the audience Professor Mahadevan, Director, Sri Venkateswara Medical College Research Center, an eminent pediatricians of national fame, and my other members of this audience. Today, I'll be sharing some of thoughts on breastfeeding, that it is an investment in health, not just a lifestyle decisions. I must thank my predecessor, Dr. Mudgals. I was impressed by his passionate statement he made that if we support, if we empower women for the breastfeedings, it not helps the mother, it helps the community, it helps her the well. I think that is the essence of this breastfeeding concept, what Dr. Mudgal has conveyed. So today, just a few minutes, just which one? This one. So I shall be speaking on breastfeeding is an investment in health, not just on lifestyle decisions. Is this slide moving forward? Is this slide moving forward? Just see.
Yeah.
Slide moving forward? Or?
Sir, slide is moving, sir.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you so much. So I'll try to take around 25 to 30 minutes just to touch on various points in continuation of Dr. Mudgal, what he mentions. Already he has shared interesting facts and figures about the importance of the breast milk. And I'll emphasize more, you see, this importance of breast milk. What are the evidences that have been accumulated more and more in supporting the breast milk feedings, and how it contributes for foundation for good health. And if we don't effect appropriate concept of breastfeeding, how we pay back because of the cost of inactions, and more importance, what I like to say is the economic impact of inadequacy, global and locals. And finally, I'll conclude by share opportunity actions. When we talk of breast milk, as Dr. Mudgal has nicely mentioned, it's like nectar for the child. And it has lots of importance and uniqueness. First and foremost, when we are born to this world, the first food that we are given is the breast milk. And it is like nectar because it is the source of essential nutritions that provides to the infant during the critical early years, 6 months of his life. And in an essence, in a concept, it's just like the first immunizations through feeding breast milk. And obviously, this is not just transferring nutrients to the children, but it's an unique and the best opportunity for bonding between mother and child, and stimulation and healthy development, and so on. On this context, if we recapitulate the recommendation of World Health Organization and UNICEF, which it recommends that this breastfeeding to be initiated within 1 hour of birth and continue till the first 6 months without any other foods, and also and complementary feedings with up to 24 months of age. Having solved that, what is the major issues that prevents or that obstructs the compliance of breastfeeding or non-compliance of breastfeeding? Many issues are there, but still it's a fact. In spite of so best things of the breast milk, only 1 in 4 infants is exclusively breastfed. And low rates of breastfeeding and more than $3 billion of a year to medical costs, particularly in child in the United States. And other communities are less benefited, less breastfed, which is below the national average. So, to enhance just the importance of this evidences that has been accumulating over years for last many decades, that reflects the effectiveness of the breastfeeding is that throughout the past several years, there has been a surge in scientific evidence that just show how critical breastfeeding is to human health and development. More than 10,000 articles being published in international journals of repute supporting this concept. Breastfeeding provides an unmatched health benefits for babies and mothers. As we know, as I'm a infectious disease by profession, we used to emphasize that when mother feeds milk to her baby, she not only feeds but passes on the ready-made antibodies, ready-made protective components she has accumulated during years to the child, to this milk, that makes it effective for the children, for the child to be protected against a variety of infectious disease. Hence, when benefits are so more, we must have responsibilities to do more to create supportive and safe environment for mothers who choose to be breastfed. That has been nicely brought out by Dr. Rakesh Mutkal in our lectures. And when we think of investments, as Dr. Mutkal rightly mentioned, it is, WHO has mentioned, one of the smartest investment a country can make to build its future prosperities. Just to count some of the benefits in terms of health parameters, like giving protections or protection to infants for against asthma, obesity, type 1 diabetes, lot of varieties of gastrointestinal infections, including bacterial, viral, all those things, and of course, necrotizing enteritis. Not only it benefits the mother, infant who receives the breast milk, but equally mothers do benefit in addition to the good amount of bonding between mother and child. Lot of evidences, published papers are there, which protects mothers from type 2 diabetics, suggested ovarian cancer and breast cancer, and of course, from the blood pressures. And in essence, it focuses a foundation for good health. It has been shown optimal breastfeeding could have the single largest impact on child for prevent infections, and scaling of breastfeeding to a near universal level could prevent 823,000 child deaths per year. Artificial feeding leadings because of a lot of problems, possible contaminations, and diarrhea, pneumonia, which are the leading cause of child mortality, which all are prevented because of this breastfeeding. By supporting mothers to practice proper breastfeedings in the workplaces, as Dr. Rakesh Mutkal has mentioned, in addition to many benefits, nearly 50% of diarrhea episodes and a third of respiratory infections has been avoided. It has been found just a natural and a part of reproductive cycle for women as such a significant on women's health. Also, breastfeeding indirectly contributes significantly, making the space for the childbirth. And it has been estimated 20,000 breast cancer deaths could be prevented annually as a result of optimal breastfeeding. So, good health for mothers as well as a children's brain. It has been seen, a Lancet series on breastfeeding reported that the shorter duration of breastfeeding for children were associated with 2.6-month loss in IQ scores. So, in all the physical and mental activity development of the children. And additional studies concur showing the non-breastfed children had significantly low IQ scores and smaller brains overall. Hence, there is no doubt about the immense benefit of the breastfeed. So now the question is that when we don't implement these breastfeedings, what are the cost of inactions? Is immense. Over 8,20,000 children age 5 and 20,000 children each year die as a substitute of breastfeeding practices, and failure to support world optimated breastfeeding contains billions of dollars because of direct, indirect cost of this treatment, because of the absence of the breastfeedings. So this cost of inactions has been attributable to many causes, many factors, and that has led to the higher mortality of women and children, higher healthcare costs as a result of illness and disease, and lost future wages for individuals as a result of reduced cognitive capacity for the children, and economic impacts of inactions and inadequacy is more. The potential future realized due to cognitive attributed to inadequate breastfeedings, and their estimated costs are increasingly skyrocketing. Hence, in a sense, improved breastfeeding leads to improve health and development of children, as well as for the mother, and focuses for improved development, cognitive development of learning and educational attainment, productivity in terms of wages, and increase in GDP. So despite in India, a reported 55% of exclusive breastfeeded in children below the age of 6 months, an estimated nearly 1 lakh children die each year as a result because of diarrhea and pneumonia that could be prevented by this best practice. And the high level of child mortality and growing number of deaths in women from cancer and type 2 diabetes attributable to inadequate breastfeeding is estimated to drain the Indian economy of staggering $7 billion. And together with another $7 billion in cost related to cognitive loss, India is poised to lose an estimated billions of economy or 0.70% of its GNI. Is alarming, and the cost is really too much. And again, when there's a recent analysis by the World Bank, the Result for Development Institute, that 1,000 days show that meeting the global target by 2025 would require the additional investment of $5.7 billion. And this additional investments are needed to support the mothers to exclusive breastfeed for that, and when it's translated into the $4.7 for newborns. Hence, investing $5.7 billion by 2025 to reach the World Health Assembly targets on exclusive breastfeeding can save 5,20,000 children. Hence, research has shown that efforts to promote and protect breastfeeding cost an estimated $0.6 billion per year globally, with potential economic returns of the about $30 billion per year over the next 10 years. This is a return of about $35 for each $1 invested in breastfeeding promotions and protections. It equals the amount of extensive good returns for proper breastfeedings. Hence, it's a shared opportunity. Definitely needs a call to actions. In essence, $5.7 billion in additional funding is required by 2025 to ensure that 50% of the children in the world are exclusively breastfed. And also action is needed to fully implement the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitute through strong legal measures. It also enact paid family leaves and workplace breastfeeding policies that will promote breastfeedings among working women and implement the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding in maternity facilities, including providing breast milk for sick and vulnerable newborn mothers. It improve access to skilled breastfeeding counseling, strengthen links between health facilities and communities, and obviously encourage community networks that protect, promote, and support breastfeedings. Strengthen monitoring system that track the progress of policies, programs, and funding towards achieving both national and global feeding targets. To summarize, breastfeeding is not only an investment, which is important in children and saving lives, but also an investment in human capital development that directly benefits a country's economy. It is one of the best investments in global health. As these evidences have shown, every $1 invested in breastfeeding generates $35 in economic returns. No such investment could result so much of higher returns. My management friend, Dr. Goodwill, will agree. So in order to meet the World Health Assembly target of increasing the percentage of children under 6 months of age who are exclusively breastfed to at least 50% by 2025, this additional $5.7 billion is required. This investment just translates to $4.70 per newborn. But we are confident with optimism that with the right of ambience and the right policies and investment, any country can fully realize the potential gains from breastfeeding. Thank you. Thank you very much for your patient sharing.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us on this economic impact of breastfeeding. Sir has also not talked about the losses by not adhering to the breastfeeding practices, but he has also enlightened us on the gains which the country is going to face because of adhering to the breastfeeding practices. Thank you so much, sir. We move on to the next speaker, Professor Dr. B. Vengamma ma'am. She is the Director cum Vice Chancellor of Sri Venkateshwara Institute of Medical Sciences, Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh. She is the first ever women Director cum Vice Chancellor of Sri Venkateshwara Institute of Medical Sciences. She is a Senior Professor and Head Department of Neurology, did her DM Neurology at the prestigious NIMHANS Bangalore and distinguished herself to be the best outgoing student. She teaches the postgraduates in DM Neurology, MCH Neurosurgery, MD General Medicine, PhD students, and has been an examiner on boards of several prestigious universities, including NIMHANS Bangalore, and has been an MCA assessor for DM Neurology. She is recognized as an innovative researcher, has several ongoing research projects. She is the founder president of Tirupati branch of Indian Epilepsy Association and is the president-elect of IEA presently. She is the recipient of Harish Chandra Bajoria Award for social activities in the field of epilepsy by IEA and the prestigious Ugadi Puraskar Award of the AP state government. Dr. Vengamma has the unique distinction of initiating a free epilepsy camp that provides free anti-epileptic medications to nearly 500 persons monthly and has been successfully running it since then. Madam will be talking on the implications of the COVID-19 pandemic response for breastfeeding, maternal caregiving capacity, and infant mental health. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Audible,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at the outset, thank you for the opportunity given. I bring greetings from Tirumala Tirupati and greetings from Sri Venkateshwara Institute of Medical Sciences. And I'm very happy that Balaji Vidyapith regularly organizing these webinars And this is the 18th, and I'm very happy to say earlier I had been participated also. And this time they have taken a very important topic of breastfeeding and its implications for well-being of child and humanity. And I'll be going to talk about implications of COVID-19 responsible for breastfeeding, maternal caregiving, and infants. If the last 2.5 months have taught us anything, it is how rapidly things can change. Entire ways of life have been disrupted. The health of millions of people have been jeopardized, and many have been prematurely lost. During these busy times, one of the challenges that we face to know when to let go of previously held understanding and when to hold tied to that what is proven to be true, especially the management of babies born to women with severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, at the time of delivery, including whether to advocate that they breastfeed, provides an important example of challenges we face in providing the guidance in the absence of adequate evidence to inform the risk. This is one of the studies that is impact of COVID-19 on maternal and perinatal health. COVID-19 pandemic affects maternal health both directly and indirectly, and direct and indirect effects are intertwined. There are 396 publications, out of which 95 are included in this study, and this study has shown that the intrauterine vertical and breast milk transmission are unlikely. Labor and delivery and breastfeeding guidelines are vary. Clinically relevant anxiety and depression are more because there are prenatal visits are decreased because of the COVID-19 lockdowns. Healthcare infrastructure was strained. Women are likely to lose their income due to pandemic more than men, and working mothers struggle with increased childcare demands. But at the end, the conclusion of the study was, though there was both direct and indirect effects, the pregnant women and mothers were not found to be at high risk for COVID-19 infection than people who are not pregnant. However, pregnant people with the symptomatic COVID-19 may experience more adverse outcomes compared to non-pregnant people and seems to face is proportionate adverse socioeconomic consequences. Coming to the breastfeeding, breastfeeding provides the cleanest and safest form of infant and young children nutrition in disastrous situation and is the normative standard for infant nutrition. We had 2 excellent talks previously about the breastfeeding and investment. Breast milk with its anti-infective and anti-inflammatory properties becomes especially important in mitigating the infectious conditions. If the mother is infected, her milk may provide antibodies against that specific infection, as already shown in the influenza. Breastfeeding allows the mother to independently provide for her child despite the helplessness that occurred during the disaster. Commonly encountered situations like COVID positive mother before or on delivery, and the baby is negative, or both mother and infant are positive, or healthy mother with baby being positive. In first scenario also, if the mother is good clinical condition, she should be encouraged to the breastfeeding. In the second scenario, both mother and infant breastfeeding is strongly encouraged where both members are positive. And the third instance, healthy mother and infant, also now the studies have shown that the breastfeeding has to be encouraged because, as mentioned, human breastfeeding enhances both maternal and infant health with the dynamic bidirectional exchange between the mother and infant, which constitute the cornerstone of the infant and child well-being. The current recommendations Maternal and infant transmission of infection and its effect on neonatal and infant outcomes is a major concern. There are very limited data on the presence of COVID-19 in breast milk and the possibility of mother-infant transmission. Similar to the past reports on the severe acute respiratory syndrome related coronavirus, where the virus did not seem to be vertically transmitted, published data largely do not suggest that COVID-19 is transmitted via breast milk. However, there have been 3 published case reports of presence of COVID-19 RT-PCR in breast milk samples. However, these breast milk became negative for COVID-19 by day 3, 14 days respectively, as published in American Journal of Perinatology in 2020. Breastfeeding in the context of COVID-19, what the guideline says. Due to the limited data concerning the maternal infant transmission of COVID-19, there are various guidelines on how to manage delivery and immediate newborn care of a mother with a suspected COVID-19. American Academy of Pediatrics and CDC recommend temporarily separating infants from the infected mothers in the hospital. The WHO does not recommend separation of infants from their mothers. Rather, they recommend skin-to-skin roaming in and encourage exclusive breastfeeding. So what should a mother do if she contacts COVID infection while she is breastfeeding? Current evidence says that she should continue to provide breast milk to her infant. Strict hand wash and use of mask is recommended. And if the infection is so severe, they recommend that expressed breast milk of these mothers to be fed to their infants. There are many unanswered questions. The research is going on regarding uncertaining. First, whether the infectious live virus is ever present in the breast milk. If so, timing of viral shedding in milk in relation to the course of maternal infection will need to be established. Second, the development of IgG or IgA neutralizing antibody against SARS-CoV-2. The large and a systematic review of pregnancy breastfeeding during COVID-19 pandemic, they have analyzed 161 studies the last year. According to the review, preterm delivery seems to be more frequent among the pregnant women with COVID-19. There is an emerging evidence on the possible vertical transmission that 3 positive results simultaneously in the placental samples and neonatal oral swabs, but the clinical relevance of fetal infection is still unclear. So far, there is not enough scientific evidence to unequivocally state that there is a possibility that mothers with COVID-19 can transmit the virus through breast milk. The maternal fatality rate was below 1% among the reported cases. Hospitalization in intensive care is less than 10%. Although the complication appears to be similar to those of non-pregnant women, services must be prepared to attend to these complications, especially in pregnant women with comorbidities. Information, counseling, and adequate monitoring are essential to prevent and manage adverse effects of SARS-CoV-2 infection during pregnancy. Coming to the vaccination part, again, this is a review the existing evidence and practice guidelines, which was published in Infectious Disease in 2021. The study concluded that the COVID-19 vaccination is the most promising means of controlling spread of COVID-19 global pandemic. It is important to safeguard our vulnerable population of pregnant and lactating women, while so prioritizing their involvement in clinical trials for vaccine and antiviral therapies and vaccine administration. Healthcare providers are needed to keep up to date with the new information to provide evidence-based information and effective counseling to pregnant and lactating women, because there is a lot of controversy data about this because of these pregnant and lactating women are excluded in the clinical trials. Accidental pregnancies reported in COVID-19 vaccine trials like Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and AstraZeneca, both groups, they found there is not much a significant change between the vaccination during pregnancy. And COVID-19 vaccination, as per the guidelines, Advisory Committee on Immunization Practice for Pregnancy, people who are pregnant and part of group recommend to receive COVID-19 vaccines, such as healthcare personnel may choose to be vaccinated. And for a breastfeeding, no data on the safety of COVID-19 vaccine in lactating mothers or effects of mRNA vaccine. But individuals who meet the criteria vaccination based on the ACP recommended priority group may choose to be vaccinated. Similarly, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, they also recommend that should not be withheld from the breastfeeding individual who meet the criteria for vaccination based on the ACIP recommendation priority groups. Theoretical risk of vaccinating lactating people do not outweigh the potential benefits of the vaccine. And similarly, the Society for Maternal and Fetal Medicine also says vaccination has to be recommended for lactating women. And Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine says does not recommend cessation of breastfeeding for individuals who are vaccinated against COVID-19. Discuss the potential benefits and unknown risk with their clinicians regarding the receipt of vaccine. While there is a little plausible risk for the child, there is a biological possible benefit we should always counsel. The way forward, what has been mentioned, I think the current recommendation point out at present insufficient evidence that the transmission of COVID-19 through breastfeeding. For this reason, strict measures of mother-infant separation, discontinuation of breastfeeding ought to be avoided, regardless of a positive diagnosis and intensity of the symptoms, unless the severity is such level that a mother cannot take care of the infant, in which case expressed or fresh unpasteurized breast milk should be provided for the baby. To summarize, nature has designated the mother's breast milk to nurture the neonate and to protect the dad in psyche and soma, ensuring the transfer of antibodies, microbes, viruses, but also emotional stimulation. Since SARS-CoV-2 is a highly transmissible, breastfeeding should be encouraged, but observing all appropriate safety measures for the mother and the close contacts. With the vaccination schedule in progress, pregnant mothers to be properly prioritized. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You took us through the different situations that are faced during the COVID-19 pandemic, and also you have given the guidelines for us to manage the newborn and also the mothers. And you took us through the each and every corner of this maternal health aspect and also the newborns. Thank you so much, ma'am. And in the chat box, there is a comment from director of Sri Venkateshwara Institute of Medical Sciences. Heat stroke due to climate change could be a confounding variable on this mother-child axis. Yes, sir. Point well taken, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the contribution. Now we have come to the end of the webinar session. On successful completion of this 18th session of SBV Connect webinar, and I thank all the dignitaries, Professor Rakesh K. Mudgal, sir, Professor Subhash Chandra Parija, sir, and Professor B. Vengamma, ma'am, for their contributions and for addressing on this interesting topic. On behalf of Sri Balaji Vidyapith, We would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.